My name is Rachel Monroe. I'm 31 years old, a defense lawyer, and someone who has built her life around work and independence. I don't have much of a family anymore. My mom passed away a few years ago, and my dad, he left when I was just 9 years old. One day he was there, the next he was gone, no goodbye, no explanation, he just disappeared, and for over 20 years, I never heard a word from him. Until now. He showed up in my office like some ghost from the past, dressed in a sharp suit, acting like nothing had happened. I didn't even recognize him at first, his hair grayer, his face harder, but the moment he spoke, I knew. His voice had the same cold edge I remembered from childhood. "I'm not asking for a favor, Rachel," he said flatly. "I'm asking you to do your job." His words hit me like a slap. For a second, I couldn't even speak. I sat there frozen, my fingers gripping the edge of my desk. It was like my brain had to catch up with what was happening. Here was the man who had abandoned me and my mom without a second thought, sitting across from me like I owed him something. "You want me to defend you in court?" I asked quietly, trying to keep my emotions in check. "Let's not pretend this is just about my job. You need my help. After everything that happened, you think you can just walk in here and expect it?" He didn't flinch. He just sat there, stiff, serious. "This isn't personal, Rachel, it's business, and I wouldn't be here if I didn't think you were the best person for it." Business, that's what he called it. That's what everything was to him, an exchange. What he could get, what others could give. That's how he'd always operated. Still, there was something else in his voice, maybe guilt, maybe fear, I didn't know, and honestly, I wasn't sure I cared. "I need time to think," I said, my voice stronger than I felt. "I have other clients to see." He stood up, straightened his jacket, and gave me a look that I couldn't quite read. "Take your time," he said, "but remember, Rachel, I'm fighting for my life here." When he left, the silence in the room felt heavy. I sat there for a long while, staring at the chair he had just been sitting in. He wasn't just another client, he was the man who left us with nothing. My mom had to work 2 jobs just to keep us going. He missed everything, birthdays, graduations, all the big moments of my life, and now he wanted me to save him. That night, I called Jessica, my old law professor and the closest thing I had to a mother figure since my real mom passed. He just walked in like he had every right to ask me. I told her, pacing around my living room, no apology, no emotion, just do your job, like I owe him something. Jessica was quiet on the other end of the line. Then she said, "Rachel, this is complicated, but you're a lawyer. You have to ask yourself, can you separate the case from your feelings?" I stopped and looked out the window at the city lights. "I don't know," I said softly, "but I'm not sure I have a choice." For the next few days, I buried myself in the case file he left behind. The charges were serious: embezzlement of millions from Monroe Investments, the company he co-owned. The evidence didn't look good: shady bank transfers, fake financial reports, mismatched numbers, everything pointed to him. But something didn't feel right. The crime was too clean, too calculated. My dad was many things, but he wasn't that precise. He was careless, reckless. This didn't feel like him. Then I found his partner's name, Alan Carter. Alan kept showing up in the background of important documents. The more I looked, the more it seemed like Alan had everything to gain if my dad took the fall. Late one night, I called Jessica again. "I think someone set him up," I said. "Maybe his business partner, Alan." She paused for a moment before replying. "Then this isn't just about defending your father, it's about uncovering the truth. Are you ready for that?" I sighed. "I don't know, but I think I have to be." The next morning, I called my dad. I told him I'd take the case, but only if I ran it my way. No lies, no interference, no games. To my surprise, he agreed. The following weeks were tough. I spent every waking hour digging through files, tracking down employees, reviewing years of paperwork. I was building a defense, but also piecing together my own broken history. Every time I saw my dad, I had to push down the anger and confusion. I treated him like a client, nothing more. We met one afternoon to go over the strategy. The air between us was tense. He sat across from me, arms crossed, silent. As I explained the plan, he finally spoke. "You're good at this," he said. I didn't expect that. I wasn't sure whether to take that as a compliment or a backhanded comment. "I've been doing this a long time," I said simply. "It's my job." He didn't say anything after that. We just kept working. But for the first time, I saw something flicker in his expression. Maybe it was respect, maybe it was something else. I wasn't sure yet, but I knew one thing: I was going to find the truth. No matter what it cost. Looking back, it was clear Alan had taken steps to protect himself and benefit from my father's problems, but I couldn't just go with my gut. I needed solid proof. One day during a strategy meeting, I laid everything out in front of our legal team and my father. I had been working on a timeline, trying to connect the dots. Alan had full access to the company's financial records. I began, pointing to the documents in front of us. 4 months, he's been pulling back from day-to-day operations. He's been quietly selling company assets and moving the money into his personal accounts. If we can show that he had a reason and a chance to do this, we can shift the blame away from you. My dad, usually full of strong opinions, just sat there, silent and focused. You really believe Alan set me up? He finally asked, his voice lower than usual. I do, I said, looking him in the eye, but this isn't about belief, it's about proof, and if Alan's as careful as I think he is, we're going to need more than suspicions to clear your name. Things took a major turn during a pre-trial deposition when one of Alan's longtime employees, Ellen Price, a senior manager, was called in to give her statement. At first, she seemed calm, her answers were short and polite, and she didn't say anything that helped much. But as I started asking more specific questions about the company's financial records and Alan's decisions, I noticed she started to shift. Her voice wavered a little, and she kept looking toward the door, like she wanted to leave. Then I took a chance. Ms. Price, I said gently but firmly, is there anything you remember about Mr. Carter's involvement that you haven't shared? Anything you might have overheard or seen that didn't seem right? She paused. The room went quiet, except for the court reporter writing everything down. Ellen looked torn, like she was battling with herself. Then, after a deep breath, she finally spoke. There was a phone call a few months ago, she said softly. I overheard Mr. Carter say, Michael is the perfect scapegoat. Her words hung in the air like a thunderclap. I looked at my co-counsel. We both knew this was big. Did you report it at the time? I asked. She shook her head. No, I didn't think it was my place, and I wasn't even sure it meant anything, but I haven't stopped thinking about it. Her words were powerful, but I knew they wouldn't be enough on their own. We still needed something more concrete, something that couldn't be argued away. That evening, I met with our IT investigator. He had been digging through Alan's old digital records for weeks, especially his email backups. We're getting close, he told me, his eyes locked on his laptop. I'm still checking a few more archive files. If Alan slipped up, we'll find it. I spent the next 2 days on edge, waiting. Then finally, I got the call. Rachel, he said quickly, I found something. I sat up straight. What is it? An email from Alan to an external accountant. He deleted it, but one of the backup files caught it. In the message, he suggests your dad will take the fall if anything goes wrong, and the timing matches exactly when the financial issues started. My heart raced. What does the email say? He read it to me. The way things are structured, Michael will take the fall if this goes south. Keep everything tight on your end. I let the words sink in. This wasn't just a mistake, this was intentional. And it came from his work computer. He added, the IP address matches. There's no way he can deny it. I hung up and looked at the papers on my desk. Between Ellen's statement and this email, we finally had what we needed. It was time to take it to court. On the day of the hearing, the courtroom felt heavy with tension. My dad sat beside me, unusually quiet. He looked nervous, but hopeful. I placed our folder of evidence on the table and took a deep breath. The other side tried to make my dad look careless, like he had mismanaged the business, but I waited calmly for my chance to speak. When the judge finally called on me, I stood up, holding the printed email in my hand. Your Honor, I said, we have new evidence that changes everything. The courtroom buzzed as I handed the judge and opposing counsel copies of the email. This email was deleted, but recovered from a backup server. I continued. In it, Mr. Alan Carter discusses a plan to let my client, Michael Monroe, take the blame for financial problems. This was not an accident, it was planned. I paused to let it sink in. Then I added, we also have sworn testimony from a senior employee who overheard Mr. Carter call my client the perfect scapegoat. Alan's face turned pale. He shifted in his seat and looked at his lawyer nervously. Meanwhile, my dad turned to me, His eyes filled with something I hadn't seen in years: respect. The judge reviewed the evidence, then made the call. There is enough evidence here to shift the investigation toward Mr. Alan Carter. The case against Michael Monroe is suspended until further notice. The courtroom buzzed with whispers. My dad looked at me, his expression unreadable. He didn't say anything, just nodded slowly, and in that moment, I knew he understood what I had done. A few days later, the charges against my dad were dropped. All attention turned to Alan, who was now under full investigation. The story hit the media quickly. News headlines talked about Alan's betrayal, and for the first time, my dad was free from suspicion. But for me, the win was bittersweet. That evening, my dad came to my office. He had asked to talk. He looked different, quieter, more humble. He sat down across from me, struggling to find the right words. I just want to say thank you, he said softly. You didn't have to do this for me. I don't think I deserve it, but I'm thankful. I leaned back. I didn't do it for you, I said honestly. I did it because it was the right thing to do, and maybe, to prove something to myself. He looked down, ashamed. I wasn't the father you needed, he said, and I can't change that, but I'm proud of who you've become, even if I had nothing to do with it. I paused, searching his face. I didn't need your pride, I said. I needed a dad, and you weren't there when I needed you. He nodded slowly, accepting the truth. I hope someday you can forgive me. I didn't say anything, not because I had forgiven him, because I hadn't. Maybe I never would. But I realized something in that moment. I didn't need his approval. I didn't need his love to define who I was. I had fought for the truth. I had cleared his name. I had become the person he never helped me become. And I was proud of that. As he left my office, I stayed behind for a moment, letting the silence wrap around me. I wasn't the little girl he had walked away from anymore. I was Rachel Monroe. A woman who had fought for justice, and won.